The feel-good shows are pretty rare these days, though. Like, Returning the Favor stands out pretty uniquely in that no one's competing for the money. It's not Shark Tank or something like that. They don't have to impress you necessarily. It just sort of happens. It's got to be hard to get all these small-town people usually together, and it's like, keep a secret from the nicest person, one of the nicest people in your town. Everybody else get in on it, and make sure nobody texts her, puts it in a thread when she wonders where everyone is. Lie to them. I don't know. How do you, who orchestrates all that?
It happens in a couple different ways. The first thing that happens is a small crew goes in under the auspices of making a digital documentary or some modest thing. And, most of the people we feature on the show are involved in, some kind of altruistic effort. So they want the press. And so they'll sit down and they'll talk to these people. While that's happening, other things are going on regarding the reveal or the surprise. And I haven't shown up yet. I don't show up until I literally spend 6 hours with these people. The advance crew has gone in. They've set up some kind of surprise. I go in and I play it exactly as it lies. If they know me, that's fine. Most of them do at this point. Some of them think, am I on dirty jobs? Am I on Somebody's Got to Do It? Some people have just figured it out. They're like, oh my God, is this Returning the Favor? And this is really funny. A few years ago.
Yes, but we're not returning one to you. Sorry.
Well, a couple of years ago, it would be a disaster. And production would stop and everybody would huddle around and they'd try and figure out what to do. Today, I just say, yeah, as a matter of fact, it is. Good for you. You figured it out. Now what are we going to do? Because we still have to shoot the show. And
script.
And so that gets cut into the show. And it's really not a disaster at all.
Yeah.
It simply means that if you really surprise somebody, really get them totally out of the blue, it's because they didn't know it was Christmas morning. But if they know it's Christmas morning, it simply means they don't know what's under the tree, and they won't until you give it to them. And so it's still, we're not really there to document Christmas morning. We're there because the people we're introducing you to are people that we think you should know, people who are doing something cool in their neighborhood. And because it's on Facebook, you don't have the same weight of network oversight and fear, frankly. Extreme Home Makeover was a 60-minute show, and that thing, man, it had to run in a very specific way. There were hundreds of people on that crew.
Jeez.
There were hundreds. I was up in Maine one time fishing for slime eels. It's a great episode of Dirty Jobs, and we'd been out for a couple of days, and we came back in on the boats, and coincidentally, in this same little small town, Extreme Home Makeover was there, like, building a house. And they were all like, oh, God, can you come over and have lunch with us, say hello? And I said, well, sure. Can I bring the crew? And they're like, yeah, well, how many are there? And I'm like, 6. I'm like, 6? Of course, bring them. They had close to 300.
Oh, man.
So, like, you're talking about contractors, people working on a house. You're talking about, multiple live vans because they shoot it like it's live to tape. And, an episode of that thing probably, it cost millions to shoot.
Oh, that's crazy.
And an episode of Dirty Jobs, 6 dudes, 4 with cameras out in the world, not doing a second take.
How much did that cost? Are you allowed to say? Do you know?
Sure. At the time, an hour of Dirty Jobs would probably cost about $350,000 to $400,000.
Wow.
Everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so
that's amazing. So it's like a factor of 10 or something like that.
Right. And the shows were equally rated.
Yeah. No wonder they liked you so much.
Well, it's just, I got a little expensive there toward the end, but
we're gonna have to cancel this.
Right.
You're gonna have to call it. Someone's got to do it now. Sorry.
That's pretty much what happened.
Yeah.
But no, that's what happens with shows. They start small, they're doomed to fail. They find an audience, everybody swoops in to make them bigger and better, and then they get so expensive and top heavy that they collapse under their own weight.
Well, was it kind of a thing where you go, I kind of want to keep doing this, but not really that much, and they're like, we'll give you this much, and then eventually you just go, if I'm going to come in for another tilapia dump truck poop show, you got to pay me this much, and they go, you know what, we're drawing the line.
Well, things go off the rails for a lot of different reasons. In my case, it really wasn't about the money. The money was involved.
Mhm.
We went for 8 seasons, and it's like an ad campaign. Even ad campaigns that work, advertising agencies get nervous if they don't change it, because if there's no need to change a thing, then why do you exist? What are you doing, right? And so I had 10 executive producers on Dirty Jobs over 8 seasons. That's
Yeah.
that's how much churn there is,
That's
right?
more than one per season for those
That's
of you
right.
doing the math.
And every time somebody comes in, they kind of want to put their stamp on it.
Yeah.
And there was nothing to stamp on Dirty Jobs. It wasn't a show. It was the chronicling of a day on a farm, in a tilapia pond, on a bridge, right? It wasn't. There was no casting. There was no pre-production. There was certainly no script, and there was no second take. So there's very little you can do as an executive, except what finally happened at the end when they just wanted to ramp it up, really ramp it up. And I didn't want to ramp it up. Dirty Jobs was a show that featured people you'd never heard of doing things you didn't know people did in towns you can't find on a map. And so I didn't want to do a very special episode in the sewer with John Stamos or Paris Hilton. I just didn't.
That was real. Those were real pitches, weren't they?
It was all real. I mean, we want you
man.
cleaning up in New York City after New Year's. I'm like, look, everybody knows what that looks like. It's New York City. Wouldn't it be more interesting? Blah blah blah. So
Right.
that conversation was going on, and we settled on international. Like, let's just see what it looks like overseas. So
Sure.
I went to Australia for a month, and those episodes were terrific. But again, Dirty Jobs was supposed to be, and it was at its best, a celebration of American workers doing what Americans do without artifice or pretense, and I'm really proud of it. That it started as a tribute to my pop, and it finished looking a lot like it did when it started.